Hi, and welcome to Life Talk Burrito with your hosts, me, Michelle Gunn, and Shreyas Kaushik. And Shreyas has a surprise guest for us. So, Shreyas, you want to fill us in on who that is?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this latest episode of the Life Talk Burrito. And Michelle, it is a surprise because the guest is right here on the show with us. And her name, coincidentally, is Michelle Gunn.
Well, so now that I'm prepared to interview myself,
You're the guest for the show this week, and I welcome you to your own show. And I'm going to put you on the hot seat straight away. Any questions if you have at all?
awesome. Well, first thing I want to say is welcome to everyone who's joining us. Please make sure that you do say hello and where you're from. We'd love to put your picture and your name up there. And we are live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And we're happy to have everyone. And like Shreya said, drop questions. I did receive one pre-question. I don't know when you want to handle that, Shreyas, if we want to do that now or you want to wait.
We'll just take it up after I put you through the first round of questions because you're our guest. Yes, Michelle is our guest for this episode, and I think she is definitely prepared to handle the heat. Are you prepared, Michelle, or what do you think? Do you need a quick icebreaker? Probably
Um,
just introduce yourself to the audience.
Icebreakers are always good. Let's see. I thought everybody knew everything about me, but let's see. Personally, I'm a wife, a mother, and a grandmother. I have two granddaughters, 4 and 1.5, and they live far away, so I don't get to see them that much. I have 7 cats. So that's a tidbit that most people who work with me know. 6 of them are rescues. And I want to say we're down to 7 cats because we used to have more. Anyhow, my children are, now I got to see. Yeah, they're still 28, 27, and 23. So we are empty nesters. I do still work full time for a church, and I help people do a lot of what I do in coaching and also help the church further its mission and vision. So the highlight about me is that I'm a Gallup certified strengths coach. And I love seeing people realize what is right about them and what they can do with their strengths, their innate talents that have become strengths to be successful in life. My top 5 strengths are belief, responsibility, input, developer, and arranger. So that's a nutshell version.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's really great for people to get to know you better because I think you've interviewed me in the past, right when we began our podcast, and also just before we started Life Talk Burrito. So it is kind of a payback. And yeah, Judith, you're right. Lol on me because I thought Michelle would be quite surprised, but she's doing her best to hide the surprise on her face quite well. And yeah, once again, welcome to the show. And the first question, as you know already, would be to understand what is one challenge that you faced, both personally, as Michelle, which you so rightly described as the wife, mother, and grandmother, and also Michelle as a coach.
The one challenge like forever or the one challenge currently, or do you want to narrow it to a time frame or
You get to pick the time.
My everyday struggle, as I told you earlier, is housework. Hate it, don't want to do it. Necessary evil of life. Um, but other than that, I guess my other struggle is really I want to be authentically me and help people and do that, um, I guess, in a way that it's who I am, it's my purpose. So that's how I want to live every day. So it's a struggle in the fact that I'm not there yet. I have other obligations like my day job. So although I can do it on my day job, but it's where I want to spend all my time. So that's my biggest struggle, I guess.
Yeah, I think most of us definitely do resonate with the fact that housework is a necessary evil eating into our productive time. But as you said, you're an empty nester now, so there's no respite, at least probably for a few more years. And I do certainly understand how real the struggle is, especially since we are all on that journey of progress. So progress over perfection, always, which I think you do resonate with quite well. Um, so, having said that, what do you find is one struggle that your ideal client might be facing right now?
My ideal client, she would be someone who is really struggling with being fulfilled. She's having issues in her home life, most likely with her current partner. They're not communicating well. There's She's being taken for granted, not feeling valued, and that's rolling into her professional life as well, as her self esteem is not where it needs to be. And if she has children, which most likely she does, um, there's issues there with communication. So communication is a huge issue in her self-esteem. Her biggest struggles are not valuing herself because she doesn't feel valued by the ones that she loves.
So, from what I hear you say, your ideal client are women who are looking at developing their own self as well as keeping their family interests in mind. And it makes sense for them to be facing a huge challenge right now because, as we know, the pandemic has brought in a lot of other issues where, especially working moms, have a very difficult time managing their kids' work, their housework, and then also their full time job, as well as catering to other needs of other family members. And that is something which is a niche that is probably gaining more importance as we speak, and it makes sense that you are targeting that particular market because there is definitely a need for coaching women to multitask, which kind of sounds like a myth, but in reality, that is what is happening right now. So, what is your take on that?
Yeah, it really goes deeper than multitasking. It really goes to the woman's core value. Um, I know that things are changing, but things aren't where they need to be. So women have been valued more for what they can supply to people, like caring, um, housework, cooking, versus who they really, really are. And that is a problem amongst all genders, but I think it's a bigger problem with women. And women suffer because they attach their own value to either their spouse or their family. And now professionally, it's their job. So if they lose one of those, or when they become empty nesters, it's who am I? I have no value. So I think it's really a bigger issue of who a woman is at the core.
Absolutely. That sounds really empowering and much needed for the current situation. Um, so I'll change the format a little bit to stir things up and so that you don't get bored as a guest. Um, I'm seeing you're quite open to embracing gifts, memes, and other sort of funny stuff on your LinkedIn post. So, how did that change come up, and what inspired you to take up gifts and memes?
Well, seeing them, number one, was always joyful. And number two, as you know, I had somebody teach me how to do it, because sometimes as we get older, we're not as up to it. So the best thing, if you're not good with stuff, find someone who's a little younger, like Shreyas, who taught me how to use some of those, how to actually get them on there, because a lot of times it's not as easy on Facebook where you can just click the little gift button and find it. So it's not hard, but if you don't have a clue, it's always good to have someone teach you. And I found that throughout my working career, that partnering with someone who has different skill sets and talents as you helps you to learn and become a better person, because that's really what we're made to do, right?
Absolutely, I totally agree because we can't be experts in all aspects of life. So collaborations are something that really helps you bring in your personality as well as get it augmented
Hmm.
by the personalities of other parties involved. And as you rightly pointed out, your weaknesses can be ironed. Uh, Rather than weaknesses, I would call it challenges. So would you. So we can iron out those challenges and just mitigate them and bring the strengths to the forefront so that people know you better. And second, the biggest advantage with gifts is it adds an element of fun. You know,
Hmm.
whenever we coach, I think you also would agree that bringing in an element of fun drives the point much deeper and also helps the client make a good connection and remember it for a longer time because it is fun to do. And bringing that fun filled and just unearthing the potential of the client to find something which is very fun to do would just bring the results a lot faster. And yeah, so what was your main intention behind using GIFs?
Entertainment. That's
Certainly agree on
basically
that.
what it is. Entertainment to help get a point across. It also shows a little bit of personality, makes you more human, right? So it makes you more relatable when you can use that. If it's part of your nature. If you're someone who never cracks a smile, it's probably not the right tool for you. But most of us have some sense of humor, so that helps really people to get to know you and really warm up to you a little bit better.
Absolutely. So a coach knows how to have fun. A coach who can embrace gifts, needs, and at the same time add value because that is something we don't compromise on. So adding value and at the same time having fun, I think sounds like a great winning formula. So there's an interesting comment by Judith, and which I totally agree because I did face that same issue, whether you're an vegetarian or not. Because quite often there is this debate between vegetarians as to whether eggs are considered vegetarian or not. And the latest trend is whether you're an vegetarian because in some European countries, veganism is being embraced a lot. So there is always this issue of whether you can have eggs or you can't. And sometimes it is a fun banter, but sometimes it does get pretty serious as well. And yes, Joe, we do have to have fun on social media. Otherwise, it just becomes mundane without having any fun. And social media just is not always being professional. Yes, you do have to have some element of professionalism, but if you just make it too professional, people wouldn't kind of resonate with the value you provide, as well as it just doesn't reach out to many. So it does bode well to have fun on social media, and that is why it is called social in the first place. So, Michelle, I'll just give you a small break and pick up some questions that were sent earlier on. So this question is from um, Paul Rogers. So he asks, what three things you can't live without and why?
So Paul actually sent that question yesterday, so I had some time to think about it, because choosing only three things can be very, very difficult. But I wrap them up in this way. So the three things that I can't live without and why are: one, people. So family, friends, people you work with. I need people. People, well, they fulfill my purpose and give me enjoyment. So can I live without people? Number one. Number two, my sense of self. Without a sense of self, I have no idea where I'm going, what I'm supposed to be doing. Um, Probably wouldn't have people. And the third is my core values. Can't live without my core values, because that is the basis of who I am. It also ties into my sense of self. And I stand up for what I believe in. I try my best, I'm just going to be honest, to not, people with opposing values, to not demean them, but try to understand their side as well as learn from them. But those three things are who I am, make up who I am: people, sense of self, and my core values.
Well, those are three great things out of the many, I don't know, zillion things that you might put your importance on. And it really is difficult, like you said, to select three things you can't live without. And I totally agree on the people part and staying true to your belief systems and values, because gone are the days where people just buy from people. Now it
Hmm.
definitely gets an extension where people buy from people who are authentic and stay true to their values and showcase that to people. So it is really important that you identify what your belief systems are. And I'm sure Clifton's strengths does play a great part in identifying your strengths and your
Hmm.
values, because one reason why we connect so well is because some of the top 10 strengths are quite common between us both, and there are also complementing factors that mitigate the challenges we might face. I say might because it is not always present, and we are not conscious about it, but those challenges are definitely there. And when we have complementing strengths, it just takes off that burden of finding the weaknesses because it's already taken care of. So, what would you like to say about that?
I agree. Oftentimes, even when we're in a position that we're hiring employees, we like to be surrounded by people who are like us. So when we do that, we can get great people, but we don't make a great team, right? Because we need to have a little bit of everything. We've, I, I mean, I don't know about you, Shreyas, but when I was growing up, we were always told you need to be a well-rounded person, go to college, be a well-rounded person. There's no such thing as a well-rounded person unless you're talking about shape, right? But what we can have is a well-rounded team, or two people that complement each other well, so that you're not one-sided in your thinking. If you are partnered with someone who likes to take risks and you like to take risks, what do you think the outcome's going to be whenever you look at objectives or goals? They're going to be risky, right? You need someone who can look at the other side of things. That doesn't mean you won't take a risk, but it means you're going to have a better understanding of the route to take, what possible outcomes there are, what kind of challenges that can come up. When I was going through the certification process for Clifton Strengths, I had my husband take the assessment also. So it was not, I guess, real surprising that his number one is my number 34 out of 34. So, right. But learning and understanding him better. And even at that point, we had been married. It was over 25 years. It still led us to believe and understand more about each other and how we think and why we think the way we do. So that when we were having our usual arguments, because I'm high in responsibility and he is not, and I think things should be done, and he's like, yeah, whatever, um, that there was an understanding of why he was what I perceived as blowing me off and not caring about what I care about. It was his different way of dealing with things. So understanding that helped me to frame my requests a little better. And then he also understood why I would get upset if he didn't follow through on something because of my high responsibility. So this is also a great Clifton Strengths is a great tool for marriage enrichment. I mean, I saw that right away. But the same thing with teamwork. Like Shreyas, you said, we have likenesses, we have similarities, and we have things that are complementary. I often lean on you for things that I'm challenged in, right? And I'm very grateful that we have the partnership and the collaboration to be able to work together, because it makes us way more well balanced. Couldn't do it on my own. Wouldn't want to do it on my own. So,
Yeah, I totally agree because right now it's not just sufficient to have a team. You need
mhm.
to have that synergistic relationship going on, which we are so fortunate we have had. And that is because we both embraced the learning outcomes from Clifton's strengths. And good for you. Responsibility is number one for me out of 34. So that creates a very good and delicate balance, which I would say is not disturbed so often because there are nine other strengths that will just complement whatever we are lacking in. And we have been collaborating for the last 6 months, and we have had probably no issues at all so far. We have been in sync whenever you need a break. Even I felt that it is a good time to take a break, like when you experienced that snowstorm. All of a sudden, we had to take a break of a week to 10 days, and we were quite in sync. I didn't get negatively affected because the flow was interrupted. Rather, we had that mindset where we could adapt to each other's schedule. Because if you remember, we started it pretty much an hour late to what we are doing right now, and it just went beyond midnight at times for me. So you were quite flexible to push it back by an hour, although it is quite early for you. We are separated by 11 and a half hours. That's a huge time difference, and we haven't hardly felt there is any issue with our times. And the same goes for podcast and the guests we bring. So it all boils down to having that synergistic partnership, which pushes the things forward for us. And Judith is giving you a hard time. She asks, "What is the next thing you're very much excited?"
I am glad you asked, Judith, because I am working on another certification, and it is with the Incredible Family. And this program, those who follow me will have seen I was part of a book launch for the Incredible Family, and I should have had the book in front of me. But the basis of the program is Clifton Strengths. They changed the wording. They have assessments for parents and assessments that parents can take for children to help you find their strengths, to help you nurture them. It helps you understand your parenting style, and of course, lead you to where the best parenting style is. And it's funny because we were talking about the parenting styles. Boy, it's really easy. Well, it was easy for me to pick myself out. And my husband was actually at an opposite corner. So we were on two, like I was overly permissive and he was overly strict. So together, we did work together to teach ourselves. And together, I think over the years, we became more of how we should parent. It was a struggle in the beginning, but this program to me will help build strong families. And that's one of the things that I believe will change the world. Because if you look at society today where both parents have to work, a lot of times children are just left. Whether or not they have somebody to care for them or they're in daycare, that doesn't matter. If their physical needs are being taken care of, that's great. But that's not what's going to make a strong child into a strong, productive adult. So to me, this is one of the answers to make our society a better place by strengthening families. So that's what I'm excited about. I'm in the process, so you will see a lot more about that coming forward.
That's awesome. So I guess Incredible Family sounds very interesting, and it does align with the niche you mentioned at the beginning of the
Mhm.
show, which is to help women in particular, but in a broader sense, anyone who is looking to understand their family interests better and work towards the development of the family. So it is definitely exciting. Um, so coming back to the traditional questionnaire that we ask, what is one lesson that you have learned in the past 1 year? I know you had already done your Clifton Strengths certification before the pandemic hit. So I would ask, what is one lesson you learned after going through Insight, which we did together, and now the development of Insight 2.0, and of course your eventual certification for Incredible Family?
Really, my journey, the first thing that I learned because of the pandemic specifically was to be open and to be flexible. If I wouldn't have been on LinkedIn. I wouldn't have learned to use the tools like Zoom um, better. I wouldn't have taken the time to meet incredible people like yourself internationally, and like a lot of our guests right here in the audience, Judith and Joe, um, to name a couple. That has been an eye-opening experience. Then, along with my certifications, like you said, I was certified through Gallup before that happened. That's when I knew that my day job isn't my calling. It's not my purpose. It more aligned me. And then I was administrating the church, basically managing all the business aspects. And I knew, although it was skills that I've learned and could do well, that's not my purpose. Most recently, I'm really learning where my niche is, where I want to serve. Because as a coach, most coaches have a heart to serve, and we want to help everybody, right? Who's your who's your ideal client? Well, I want to help everybody. I want to help women. I want to help men. I want to help anybody who doesn't know their true self. You're not going to help a lot of people that way. So through this process that I've been going through, I'm really learning where my heart is to serve and where I think I will be able to make the best connections with people so that they will get the most out of what I offer.
I totally attest to what you just said about meeting people internationally, sitting at the comfort of your home. Because if it wouldn't have been for the pandemic, I would have just been an automotive engineer in Germany without having much contact with the rest of the world. And it would just have been a very small place, without even realizing that I had a passion for something else. Not that automotive engineering is not something I don't love. It is definitely on top of my list, but coaching, it really does, help you be aligned spiritually. When I say spiritually, I just mean it is alignment with your goals, with your dreams and values. And I certainly feel pandemic just gave me the nudge to shift and see what alternatives are possible. And in the past 10 months, I've definitely got to meet so many incredible individuals, have two collaborations, and probably something new in the future as well, where we get to probably design a coaching program. I think that is definitely on the cards. A small teaser to the audience. So I totally agree that pandemic, if you have had the right perspectives and taken the opportunity to make that plunge, leave your full-time job, then I think that is what matters in the end. It's all about perspectives, and that is one lesson that I learned personally, and also getting coached by you during the initial days. I think we got together in a coaching relationship very early on while the
Mhm.
pandemic was still new. And certainly it does, coaching does help you shift your mindset, shift your energy, which probably I'll be able to talk in a later episode as part of my Energy Leadership Index certification. Um, so that's a great lesson indeed. So moving on, probably you know what question I would be asking, which is what is one thing that you'd like to change personally, as well as a coach?
One thing I'd like to change personally as a coach. So, in the world or for me personally?
For you personally.
Okay. Well, probably what most people want: freedom of time, work, and money. Right? I want to be able to get up and spend my day how I want. I want to be able to see my grandchildren whenever I want, even though they're states and states away. I want to be able to help people whenever I want and not be confined to whatever somebody else dictates. Simple.
That is a great one. I don't uh, expect anything different because people think money is the root cause of all evil, which I personally don't feel that is the case because, again, it all depends on how you use the money and how you want to earn more money. And certainly, it is not selfish because money is equally an important part of your life to probably finance what you love to do,
Mm,
like you said, meet your granddaughters, or just spend the day as you like. So
right.
it definitely makes sense that you'd want the freedom of time and money. Another interesting topic I'd like to put in at random is about niching, selecting a niche. So, is selecting a niche a conscious choice for you?
Yes and no. So, um, yes, and the fact that I've spent a lot of time thinking about it, and where I started is not where I'm ending. And my understanding from a lot of other great coaches is that that process never ends. Sometimes you change your niche, and sometimes you just keep refining it. Um, Subconsciously, we all relate to people who've had experiences that we've had. Um, so I'd say it's definitely a mix of subconscious and conscious.
Well, that definitely makes sense that your niche might change given your experiences and the new certifications that you'd be most likely to add. Because I think for both of us, continuous learning is certainly very important, and we make every effort to exchange ideas, exchange information, also share a lot about the webinars that we might have attended, and get on a call every now and then to share knowledge. So it definitely makes sense and bodes well that your niche would most likely to change because everyone needs a variety, and it's no different for coaches that they'd want some variety. But what is important is to understand that your core values will remain the same, which is why probably you said yes and no to the question, because we wouldn't be compromising or instead of saying we, any good coach who comes from a place of service wouldn't be compromising on the values and the belief systems they have. And no matter what the niche is, they will definitely most likely to be giving you the best and helping you find the answers you seek. So that was a great response and a discussion that I was meaning to have. So I don't see any further questions. So I'll probably ask you the closing question, which is, if I were to ask you what your legacy is, how would you describe it?
Okay. Before I talk about my legacy, I want to add another response to the previous question. And that is, even though we have a niche and it's specific, that doesn't mean that we cannot help people that don't fit into that specific. For instance, I'm targeting, to start with, on a one-to-one basis, women. If a gentleman were to approach me and having some issues that I do coach around, and we talk and find out that we're a good fit, I would definitely take him on as a client. So niching doesn't mean you have to turn people away, but you do want to make sure that the people you engage with are people that you can help and add value, provide value to. So I do want to say that.
Definitely, that is an interesting point because it doesn't mean the reason why we have a niche is to have a targeted audience so that they start seeing us as an authority in that particular field. So if a person comes and the topic or the issue they're facing is related to the value we offer or related to the topic that we can coach on, certainly we would be able to take them on board as clients because, as we have discussed this on a podcast as well, I consider coaches as expert generalists in the sense they are very much capable on dealing with any kind of topic that is presented by the client. And the only reason why we want a niche is to just prevent ourselves from going overboard or being burnt out because we have certainly no power to help each and everyone that come our way. And the second is to just let the audience know what is the first thing that they can come to us for and seek help. So it is in a way to make it easier for our clients to find us. And second, it is just as a safety net, I would say, to prevent ourselves from getting burnt out because we want to go there and help each and everyone as far as possible. So that is an interesting point, and thank you for bringing that to this discussion.
Okay.
Anything else that crosses your mind before we talk about your legacy, Michelle?
Well, I do have a question for you, but I want to talk about it after I answer the question. I'm going to ask you after because it's not fair. I'm the only one on
Okay.
the hot seat, right?
Well,
So
you know me. You get to take revenge at the end of the show, so definitely I'll give you an opportunity to ask me some questions.
awesome.
But before that, your legacy.
So my legacy is not my legacy, so to speak. What I want people to remember is how I made them feel, or how I've helped them feel about them. So it's not really me, it's more others focused. I don't I don't really care. I mean obviously I don't want my kids to forget me and my husband to forget me if I go, but as far as my work and everything, I want to be remembered. I don't want to be remembered. I want people to remember how they feel, how they've come to know and value themselves. I'd like to make a difference in that way, that people are finding value in humanity. I don't know if that's clear enough, but it's more of
If
a,
it is, yeah,
heartfelt feeling than something I can talk about, I guess.
if it feels good for you, it is certainly normal because there is no way anyone else can judge what you feel as normal or what you feel is heartfelt. So I think that is what something that we as coaches tell our clients as well. Whatever they feel is totally normal for them. There is no way I would bring in my judgment and place it upon the client. So it totally makes sense if it makes sense to you. That is all I care. And I felt it is really great that you want to be known for how you made the person feel and the difference they felt seeking your help. So that sounds really wonderful. And in one way, it is definitely empowering to make a difference because something that we both agree on is to raise the consciousness of this world one person at a time.
Hmm.
So if we are well on that journey, I think it is more than, I would say it is definitely excellent to even have impacted one person during our lifetime. Um, with that, yes, Judge, definitely she's accomplished that with you, with me, and probably many others in the audience that have not commented. So, the audience, if you're please, if you're listening to this, drop one thing that you feel is quite important for you and let us know. We are much eager to understand your point of view as well. I think with that we have covered all the questions. And now for the exciting part, you get to take some revenge on me by asking a few questions. So I hand over the stage to you.
It's not really revenge, right? It's sharing and caring, right? So,
That really is.
as we know, Shreyas had a huge accomplishment when he became a master coach, correct? Is that correct? Master coach with the Energy Leadership Index.
Master
So,
practitioner.
master practitioner, sorry. I knew I wouldn't get it right. Master practitioner with the Energy Leadership Index. Anyway, I am going to be taking that index. And so Shreyas is going to coach, debrief me, and share his insight about me after that index. And I think it would be amazing. I guess this isn't as much as a question. Well, sort of a question that we have an episode where we talk about the Energy Leadership Index and Clifton Strengths, seen as we would have both taken both of them, right?
Yeah, it definitely makes so much sense to take both. And that is not me telling as a coach, it is me as being a client for both these assessments and having answered it myself. I feel
Hmm.
there is immense value that is to be taken because Clifton Strengths gives you a physical perspective how you might be able to use certain characteristics. For example, like responsibility, connectedness, belief, who factor, and the rest 29 of them. So in total 34, whereas Energy Leadership Index caters to how you're showing up energetically. So they are divided into 7 levels, and each level has its own importance and characteristic. So it would be really great to match these two perspectives together and in turn just use it for your own personal development. And in some cases, it has helped me professionally as well because learning about my strengths of responsibility and connectedness prompted me to take up coaching as a full time job for the past year. And my understanding of energy leadership index and my energy levels that gives me a great idea as to what circumstances in life might be triggering some stress for me, which in turn would cut me off or pull me down. And the time I spend in those, I wouldn't say negative because it's too strong for it. I would say it is a type of a destructive energy that just doesn't serve my purpose. So understanding the amount of time I spend over there definitely gives me a great chance of bouncing back to my regular self in a quick time. So my challenges are, I would say, the negative outcome would be mitigated to a great extent. So that
Great.
is how I have found the benefits of both these assessments.
Great. So it's energy versus innate talent. So I think that would be a great discussion because we can each bring our viewpoints and our findings, and I think it would be very um, valued for our audience to hear the differences and the similarities, because I imagine there's going to be some similarities somewhere, and how we can utilize both in action. I think that would be awesome. So I guess the question of my statement is, are you up for it?
Oh, I'd certainly love to discuss this on a live. Probably find another guest who is equally inclined or is an expert on a different assessment and bring them into the fold and have a good 1 hour conversation on just about how assessments can help. And there's one other point I forgot to mention between these two assessments. One assessment validates the other. So you
Yes.
have a great source of validation if you're not left brain, that is, you don't believe in logic or you don't want logical answers. I think this is a great way for you to test the validity of one result over the other. And it works both ways. So Clifton Strength validates the Energy Leadership Index and vice versa. So you get an assurance as to what the assessment is saying is true to the person who has taken that assessment. And
Hmm.
however, there's one disclaimer: the only thing that is required of the person is to give the assessment honest response. So don't overthink, don't check what might be wrong or what is right. Just listen to your gut, listen to your intuition, and mark the answer that feels most true to you, because that will have a great impact on the outcome of the assessment. So that
Now
is
the
the only requirement.
Yeah, the Clifton Strengths Assessment is a timed assessment, and I think it's for that reason. Now, there
Mhm.
are some people who cannot, they have difficulties testing under that kind of pressure, so Gallup will work with them on that. But basically, that is, I think, the reason for it, because you got to give your first instinct. Is the ELI timed or is it not timed?
It is not timed, mainly because of the reason you just mentioned, because it adds undue stress, and that will have a direct impact because we are catering to the energy. So it is not timed.
Okay.
However, they expect you to finish it in 20 to 30 minutes because there are just 70 questions, and each would take about probably maximum 15 to 20 seconds. So they're giving you a buffer time of 20 to 30 minutes so that you finish it as quickly as possible without thinking too much. So don't analyze things. Don't try to verify if the grammar is right. Don't try to verify if some statements make sense to you or not, because the key reason of giving those particular statements is to trigger certain forms of responses in your brain, which will then have an impact, and that is being considered in the backend where they calculate the points and give the results. And we as coaches are trained to interpret that in the right sense and explain it to the client. So we will do our job of interpretation. The only requirement or expectation, this is the only point where we expect something of the client, is to just give it a honest try. That is it.
Awesome. That's good. I'm excited. As I told Shreyas, I'm going to take it today. So then we can work on figuring out when we're going to go live and talk about them. So that's something that everybody can look forward to. So watch for our posts about that.
Yeah. And as a bonus of bringing that discussion live, I would be offering the first 5 people that approach me. The assessment usually costs about $250 to $300, depending on the coach. And I usually charge $250, but I would straight away give a 50% discount and charge you $125, which includes the assessment charge and 1 hour debrief. So that is my way of showing gratitude to people who have tuned in live with us. And thank you, Michelle, for bringing that topic. I can't wait to see your results and debrief it to you.
Yeah, I'm excited. So is there, well, let's talk
Awesome,
about,
Judith.
yeah.
Yeah, Judith is taking Clifton strengths. So I'm very excited for you, Judith. I would certainly love to know what your top 10 strengths are. And hopefully, we get to bring you live and share some of your perspectives as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone is interested, like Shreya said, he offers this coaching around the Energy Leadership Index. Shreyas, you want to just give a pitch on where people can find you and if they're interested in your coaching, where they can connect and maybe even schedule something?
For sure. The best possible way or the quickest way is to reach me through LinkedIn. And if you have any query or any requirement around coaching, shoot a DM. Although I'm a premium user, I've kept my emails free. So you don't have to spend an email credit. So you can reach out via DM. That would take some time for me to respond because right now my DMs are clogged. So the best way to reach out is either connect with me directly so that I get to see you and send me a note over there, or I've put my contact details in my about section and give my business page, Get Set Rise Coaching and Consulting, a follow, where you'll find my website link and you can reach out to me over there as well. So
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn, website, and email. So that would be the best possible way to reach out to me.
Right.
What about you?
Yeah, you can always go on Shreyas's LinkedIn profile if you didn't catch that, so that you can. He's got all his contact information is right there, so don't hesitate. He's a great coach. Me, the same. LinkedIn. Um, Also, I have an email, cultivate and thrive at gmail.com. I have a website, michellegunn.com, 1L, 2N's. And I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I think that's pretty much my limit now, except I am on also, here's a plug, Service Professionals Network. So it's serviceprofessionalsnetwork.com. It's another social media site by one of our pals on LinkedIn that's growing leaps and bounds. So you can find, I think both of us there, right? Trish, you're there too?
Yes.
Yep. So we're all over.
All
Yeah.
all the details are, I think, available on our profile because we have made everything public. So even if you're not connected, you can still view our information and contact us. And we have a great team to support. So we will try to give you the best turnaround time as possible.
Oh, you can also, shame on me, you can also find me on corementorsassociation.com. So that one's a little bit longer.
Right.
corementorsassociation.com. It's a great group of coaches and other people, but directly, Michelle Gunn, 1L2Ns. So awesome.
I like a slogan, Michelle, 1L2N, because that is quite confusing, at least for me in the initial times. I was definitely, I think I've probably killed your spelling for the first 3 or 4 months. So it makes sense that you stated it's 1L and 2N's. Please make a note so that you reach out to the right Michelle. And I'm sure you have the Core Mentors Association details on your profile as well.
Yep, I sure do.
Perfect. Yes, Judith, we can't wait to have you on live and Joe, you as well. So we are hoping to get you both together. So it will be a 4-person show very soon. And yeah, I just hope to make it happen before the month end.
Awesome. Any other questions? If you guys want to ask something of Shreyas, now's a great time. He loves answering questions.
Yes. Questions are both our friends and enemies.
Yeah.
Because as coaches, questioning is one of the most important skills that we need to develop, and keeping it open ended and at the same time empowering He's a great hallmark of a coach. Um, Michelle, have you forgiven
I got
Judith?
all's good. I never stay angry long.
Yeah, who can be mad at the hot woman? The hashtag says it all. So we are very much excited, and I think no more questions. So please do reach out, leave your opinion, leave your views. This live episode will be available for replay on Michelle's profile. And if at all you have any questions that you'd like to ask us, just drop it in the comments and we will do our best to answer any questions that you might have, or at least point out to the right person who might have an answer to your questions. After all, we have a very huge network between me, Michelle, Joe, and Judith as well. So there's probably more than 100,000 people connected between the four of us. So we will do our best to answer any questions that might come up. Uh, oh, Joe is asking what my legacy is. That is pretty straightforward. It is to raise the consciousness of this world one person at a time. So, if in my entire lifetime I can impact one person to make a change, a positive change, which will empower them, I think I would consider that my legacy and something I would be very proud of. So that is my legacy.
Great question, Joe. And we're
Thank
great.
you, Jared.
We're grateful for all of you that came, asked questions, participated. We love having people to interact with. Although Shreyas and I get along very well, we still like to talk to other people too, right?
I love talking to people. Connectedness is number two.
Yeah.
So I definitely love to connect with people, have a chat, and I would be more than willing to open my calendar if at all any of you needs to get on a quick 15-minute coffee chat. I'm sure Michelle will be able to do that in the near future once all her um, she does full-time job with the church. She's a coach. She's a full-time cat mom. So once her priorities are settled, I think she would also be willing to jump on the coffee chat bandwagon and have an open discussion with you all.
I do
So
actually do make time for people who want to chat. Um, I do, my schedule's a little bit harder to fit in, but I do make time. So if you're really interested,
you do.
absolutely.
So thank you everyone for showing up live, and we will be meeting you with a new guest, an exciting guest for next week. And this time it will be a new guest. It will not be Michelle or it won't be me to pour you out of your life. So you will have some great value from our next guest. So stay tuned. Until then, take care, stay safe, and signing off for now.
Thank you, everyone.